Thank you so much, Sachin and Prakash Redin, for joining my chat. Um, this this is unprecedented situation that we are going through, and that's why I thought it's important for people to understand um, what are their rights, what they can do, because it's so confusing. Because there's two issues. One issue is actually looking after their health and looking after the safety, but also the other side of things is actually the existence, the money to actually meet their daily expenses and things like that. So we are going through, each and everybody going through a different kind of situation every day. So what we are seeing right now, I think, is kind of the tip of the iceberg. The lot more is going to come out. I feel health-wise, touch wood, I think we're doing pretty good in Australia. And I firmly believe all the steps that's been taken has proved to be the right, and it's actually working towards flattening the curve, which is wonderful.
Absolutely.
Now there's a bigger challenge of how long for. How long can we keep going with the social distancing and also keeping on with the essential services? And if we do that, what is going to be the impact on normal businesses that keeps our economy going? So these are things that I thought I'd like to discuss with you guys, because you're the industry expert.
Thank you for taking the initiative, Tanya. Really, really appreciate.
That's right. We're quite lucky. We are lucky in the way that we are an island country and we can contain it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can really lock down. We can actually protect our people here. And then once this is all contained, people cured, out of hospitals, I think that would be when we can probably ease things off and maybe slowly start the
and
business
also, the government is also very proactive, not only the medical restrictions and all this social distancing. On top of it, I think what the government is trying to do is avoid the depression, the Great Depression that we have suffered. That is 30% decline in GDP. So all this initiative has come from a true and proactive government, and that's good for the country.
How you said that, how we are trying to stop the depression or recession that we could go to. So you're saying that the measures that's being taken right now is conscious measures to stop that kind of depression. Is that right?
It's like the previous GFC. Even the previous GFC, there was Wayne Swan actually pumped in a lot of money into the Australian economy. Similarly, I think we're expecting a recession now as well. So
it's not the recession, it can be a depression. So what happened, the circular flow of money and the keeping the jobs.
What's the difference?
Depression is technically
you're talking to a
30% decline in your GDP is called depression, not a recession.
Right.
So if the country is not working, if there's a 30% decline in your GDP, that's going to be real bad for the economy. And the government is proactive. And what the government is trying to do is to avoid that. They are making maximum people employed so that the flow of money, flow of the economy will keep on going. So the negative effect of this virus from an economic point of view is reduced considerably. That's what the government is trying to do.
I see. And what does at what point would you say a recession? What do you call a recession?
Recession is basically theoretically 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth is theoretically called a recession. So recession, there is no question about that. We are in recession because we had a contrasting GDP growth in the December quarter, and the March quarter is definitely, it is contrasting. But I am talking about depression, which is completely different.
Even worse.
Depression. Yeah, that is 30% decline. Theoretically speaking, in your GDP, that is what a depression. And the government is trying to avoid the depression of the 1930s or whatever, that kind of thing.
What does it mean, or how
Yeah.
What does it mean to a common man? When you see government talking about pumping so much into the economy, how does a common man benefit from
So
this?
there's a couple different schemes. So a lot of it is actually, it's either really unemployment benefit or it's business income. So for example, if anyone has loss of income, so whether it be a small business or whether it be a casual worker or anyone who has loss of income, perhaps they lost a job, they're actually eligible to receive this $750 a week, which will either be pumped into their employer, or if they're a sole trader, for example, or a small business, let's say, whether it be a small restaurant, whatever it might be, the director of that restaurant is actually eligible to receive that $750 a week.
So
And
that they can pay that staff.
yep, they can pay that staff, but they're also individually. For example, if you're a sole trader, so for example, I run a restaurant, I'm the only one who works in the restaurant, let's say, I would also be, so I've had a 30% cut in my sales, for example, my sales turnover. So I would also be eligible to receive that, even though I don't pay wages to anyone else. It's only me working at that restaurant.
And
Right.
any employees,
Okay.
yeah, just one more clarification. If there are, say, 5 employees, one is
Yes.
full-time and 4 is part-time, the government is paying all those employees a minimum of $1,500 per fortnight to keep the jobs for job keeper program. So that is a really, really nice initiative, I think.
Yeah, so pretty much full-time, part-time, or a casual worker that's been with that company for 12 months are eligible to receive this. The way it works is the employer gets the money, and the employer is legally obligated to send that money to pass that money to the employee. Yeah. So, for example, if I work for someone work for a company, they will actually apply for it. The company will apply for it, and then I will immediately receive that $750. I should receive it from the employer.
Yeah, that's really good to know because I've heard of it, the 1,500. So they have to get it or make it available from their employer who they have been with more than 12 months, which essentially means like a permanent employee.
Yes, 12 months. Yes,
12 months. Yeah.
And the employer has to pass on that $750 per employee to the employee. Employer cannot keep that money.
So it doesn't matter, for example, even if you're a casual worker, for example, that's only working, let's say, for $200 a week, that the employer will still get $750 for you as a casual worker, even if you're only making $200 a week. Yeah. So that's just a flat rate. Good. That doesn't change. That flat rate doesn't change at all.
And does it mean that now is there any tax that the employer should pay the government, or just
so they're withheld? It's still taxed on that $750.
Yeah, that is the second phase. Any employer who is paying PAYG on behalf of employees, that is the tax. That tax is going to be completely, fully refunded by the government up to a maximum of $100,000. So majority of the people that we are addressing will be coming into that category. So any tax that you pay on behalf of employees, you will get a maximum of 100,000 PAYG refunded back to you by the government. That's number one. Number two, even if you paid only 5,000 PAYG, for example, you are a small employer, you only pay 5,000 withheld from the employees, the government still pay you minimum $20,000 towards it.
And just to answer your question, the $750 is actually taxable. So it's $750 gross. Yeah. So that's actually taxed. The tax will be taken out. Yeah.
Or if the employer what the employer can do is $750 can be net, and whatever tax, $150 extra, the employer can add on to $150 extra to the employee's pay. And that $150 tax that the employer is paying, that will be fully refunded by the tax office anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are two different ways to do it.
Yeah, there are different methods, of course, yeah.
But it will be better, if employees are paid, not tax taken out, pay $750 to the employee and $150 tax or whatever, employer can still get that refunded from the tax office, as long as your limit is $100,000 in PAYG.
Right. Yeah. The limit has to be 100,000.
Yes, and minimum payment is 20,000.
Right. So what happens when it's, say, for instance, is a clothing store
Yes.
or even restaurant, and they have to shut the door, of course, because it's non-essential.
Yeah.
So what happened to their rent?
So rent at the moment, unfortunately, rent isn't covered. So there are no rent allowance. There's rent allowance, for example, for residential. For example, if you're renting a property and you're staying there, you can get a rent allowance for that. But businesses don't have anything at the moment. The government is in the middle of talking about it, but unfortunately, nothing's come out now. I think that there'll be something for commercial.
Nothing has come out yet, but there will be something.
Yeah, because a lot of, for example, we have quite a few businesses that have big commercial properties, and a lot of them, a lot of the tenants are not paying their rent, which is fair enough as well, because it's a tough time and they have to close down. A lot of cafes, for example, have to close down.
Yes.
And they're not getting their rent. So I'd assume we'll probably be seeing something in maybe the next 3 or 4 months, but right now there's nothing about it.
It's a two-way thing, you see, not just the tenants, but the landlord also. Landlord also has got mortgages, rates, insurance, land tax.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not just focusing on the tenants. So I think government did not announce any incentives so far on that, but I'm sure something will come in the coming weeks.
Yeah, because it's a big problem right now. Yeah.
Right. So what about on mortgages? On home mortgages, we touched on the rentals. So there will be a rental, not allowance as such, like to go soft on the rent and people don't have to pay the rent or something like that, subsidy or something. But what about the mortgages on the property? So if I'm an investor, I've got an investment property and I've got tenants there. So what happens to my mortgage?
So you can actually, if you give the bank a call, you can actually defer it for a maximum of 6 months at the moment. Yeah. So the bank will assess you, and depending on what they think, they are actually you're eligible to get 6 months off in interest payments and principal payments at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty simple.
So that's more on the investment. What about home mortgages? So
same with investment and same with home. Yeah.
The other programs the government introduced, in like 10,000 superannuation withdrawal, 750 minimum you are getting. So all this money that you are getting, you should manage within your finances, and 750 an individual is getting if he had a job, guaranteed by the government. And if you're really in financial strife for mortgage or something, you can withdraw 20,000 superannuation from your superannuation account, and there won't be any tax on that superannuation that you contributed or whatever. And then you can also negotiate with the bank to defer.
Banks are very willing to defer their payments at the moment. They're very willing. Yeah. And they're very flexible at the moment, even with credit cards, with personal loans, anything that you think of, pretty much the banks are very willing to defer payments at the moment. Maximum of 6 months, of course. Yeah.
Basically, what you're saying is you need to talk to the bank. You need to communicate. If you have problem, you need to actually pick up the phone and talk, or maybe go online and put that question. Because if you don't ask, you won't get it, right?
That's right, absolutely.
Who is eligible to get job seeker allowance?
So it's pretty much, job seeker in specific is like an unemployment allowance. So it's if you're unemployed. So I understand that a lot of sole traders, for example, small business owners, they are also they are unemployed at the moment. So they also are able to apply for that. But the thing with it is, if you apply for job seeker and if you apply for job keeper, so you can apply for both. We talked about both. The government will actually decide which one they think you're more applicable to. And depending on that, they'll actually say, okay, we prefer you on job seeker or job keeper. But keep in mind, job keeper is $750 a week. Job seeker, I think, ends up typically around $550 a fortnight. So it's a lot less.
Okay, so there's job keeper and job seeker allowance.
It's
two different ones.
At the moment. Yeah.
Yes. So if you're a sole trader, you have to decide which one you.
Well, if you're a sole trader and now you're unemployed, I guess you have to decide which one you want to go for. Yeah.
I would recommend.
If you're a plumber.
Yeah, I would recommend job keeper simply because you get $750 a week under that scheme.
Yes.
compared to Centrelink. Centrelink at the moment is paying, I think, 550 a fortnight plus the existing benefits. So the existing benefits, I would say new start allowance or unemployment allowance, anything, that is not going to be more than, I would say it's not going to be more than at the most $400 a week. So 400 plus 275 a week, it only adds up to 675, whereas the job keeper as a sole trader, he will get 750, which is higher. So if my client, my advice to them is to apply for the job keeper rather than job seeker. Your benefits will be better.
Be better, okay.
Yeah.
So what if I'm a plumber today and tomorrow I think I don't want to do that. I want to study veterinary nursing.
Yeah.
Completely different field.
Yes.
So can I justify going on the job keeper now and then maybe go online, take advantage of what government has given today? That was fantastic offer of reduction on the courses fees and things like that. And I go on to a new course and I completely change my career and go into something else. So is it justifiable, or am I doing anything wrong by keeping the job?
Morally, I guess you are.
Not morally, not only that. At the time of going to a new course, you got to inform the government. I am not in the job keeper program anymore. From today onwards, what are the other avenues available to me, such as student allowance?
So for that temporary break, you'll be able to get the job keeper. But I think once you get onto the studying, then you'll definitely have to shift over to more Centrelink benefits. So
like student allowance, that kind of programs,
Yeah. Okay. So it's really good to, that was fantastic today that was announced by the Education Minister about the amazing cuts on the fees and things like that. That gives people enough time to, now there's enough and more time in people's hands because they got to stay at home and there's nothing much you can do, to reflect on where they can upskill, where they can actually learn new courses and things like that. And by the time things change, we have much better, more skillful, more trained individuals that come out. So you got to, what you are saying is you got to be very thoughtful and have a clear understanding on whether you're going on job keeper. And then you change your mind. You need to let the authorities know as well that there is going to be a change of career or change of pathway that you're going to take. When things get back to normal, you may not go back into the field that you were in, which is why essentially the job keeper allowance was given to you, so that it gives you, pays the living expense until things go back to normal. But during that phase that you decide that you don't want to do that anymore and you want to do something else, then you got to let them know, let the government know.
Be truthful and inform the authorities. I'm not in the job keeper anymore. So whatever other assistance, I will seek that. Be honest to the departments. You don't want them to be catching you and
And on top of it, I mean, job keeper is only 6 months, so you'll have to go on another benefit scheme anyway after that.
True.
As a student,
Now, what about the superannuation? It seems a bit confusing. A lot of people not sure about it, who can take it, what is compassionate ground and what's not. And if you are, say, a work permit holder, can you take it? If you are, I know if you're PR and citizen, that's okay. But a lot of people also here working on work permit. So does the same rule apply?
I think that specific superannuation program is targeted towards the 1.2 million students. Most of them are in the hospitality and taxi industries, and most of their jobs are affected right now, and especially from the poor students from our own country. You can't even travel back to India right now because of the shutdown. So this superannuation is mainly targeted towards these students. I think majority of them from India. So I know most of these people in the hospitality industry lost jobs at the moment. and people who are full time hardly get 1 day work. So obviously their cash flow is really really bad. They can't afford to pay rent, and the tenants are going to kick them out. That kind of situation. For those people, those students, any superannuation that they've got, they can withdraw 10,000 at a time.
So they can pretty much withdraw 10,000 in this financial year, which is until pretty much June
30th
30th.
of June, yes.
And then they can withdraw 10,000 in the next financial year.
It's a bit tricky, isn't it? Because these students do only work 20 hours a week, and that too, it may not be highly paid jobs either.
No.
So the amount of superannuation that they may have.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not much.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not all that much. Yeah. But I mean,
well,
in
something
a year,
is better than that.
I think the government there is lots of lobby groups, especially the ABC, is lobbying to, make some payments, towards students, and there's big media attention on that. So hopefully, I think the government will be kind to, these people and, introduce some sort of minimum program. That's what we expect.
Yeah, because I think at one point they were talking about even expanding perhaps the 550 payments to students as well. But none of that has really happened yet, again, because I think they're at the very back of unfortunately, they're at the back of any sort of legislative changes, the students.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, New Zealand is the country which is basically giving all the students, all the overseas students, very similar allowances to the New Zealand citizens and permanent resident holders. Unfortunately, Australia is not kind enough yet, but hopefully, there will be something. That's what we feel.
Yeah, and I can see certain universities, I'm not sure, is it Melbourne? University in Melbourne has introduced something like that, helping students out, international students, well, which is good in a way, because our country, Australia, we have a really strong educational income coming in as well.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
2.2 billion
our economy, it contributes immensely on the economy, and when these students come, they do spend, they work, they spend, and so it kind of, it's win-win. But I think the educational industry is going to be affected quite a bit as well, like the other industries, but I think it's going to be bigger or harder.
The one thing they have done is they've actually removed the 20-hour limit per week, so you can work more than 20 hours now. But I mean, students aren't really getting that many jobs either.
But I think regional Australia, I heard some story that because of the massive rains we had, there's a good, these fruits and all, it's a good sort of time now, and farmers are suffering. They think that their fruit will be rotten, not many people to pick up. So there are many avenues to pick up jobs for the students as well. If you go to regional Australia and all, lots of jobs are available there.
Oh, that's really good to know. I
hope
that students are...
Because of the rains, there is a good harvest of fruits and vegetables, and it's a really massive season. That's why, in spite of all the people scared, there'll be less food. If you go to supermarkets, not short of any fruits and vegetables or meat or, plenty.
Okay, cool. Wonderful. Is there anything else that we need to cover? Because I had these questions in my mind, but I know every day is different. New things are coming on.
There's one other thing, which is there is actually a business loan. So there's actually so which the Queensland government's offering. To be completely honest, there's been a lot of applications already. But if you do apply for it, there is actually about $250,000, maximum $250,000 that you can access, which is 12 months interest free, and after the 12 months, it's 2.5% interest per annum, which is amazing, to be honest, which is really good.
So
that is basically employers who pay wages. Employers who pay wages on 2017, 18, and 18, 19. Say I am the employer. I am paying wages of $150,000 for 2017-18 financial year, and I paid another $150,000 2018-19. So both the years I've paid $300,000. Divided by 2 means 1 year my wage bill is 150, and 50% of that $75,000 I get interest-free loan for 1 year, and I can keep that loan at a 2.5% interest thereafter.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's pretty much just it's for employers who pay wages pretty much mainly. But
Right.
if you and
Well,
that includes your own wages as well. So if you operate your own company, that includes your own wages. And if you have a trust, that includes beneficiary payments as well. So it's not bad, but I think there have been a lot of applications.
I think it's limited to $500 million. It's a Queensland government initiative, and the maximum amount is $500 million.
Yeah. But
so maybe exhausted, we don't know.
But on top of it, banks are also offering decent deals for business loans, for example. I've heard, I think, rates of maybe about 3.5% business loans.
Right.
I mean, that's really good. That's really good. Yeah.
Very good for now.
Yeah. And I've even heard of, I think maybe, don't quote me on this, but I think even 2-3 month interest-free periods to start with. Yeah. Which is, yeah. There's definitely a lot of help coming, to the way of businesses in particular.
So what is the tip of, what would you say tips of the day? What do you, give me 5 things that a person could do?
5 things that a person I guess it depends on whether you're a business or an individual. But I would definitely, there are a lot of different communities out there, whether it be the ATO, whether it be Centrelink. There are a lot of different outlets in which you can inquire. So ask questions, definitely ask questions. All the sources are available. I know the ATO and Centrelink, the lines are very long, but there are so many people that are willing to help you in times like this. And yeah, absolutely. And whether it be your accountant or whether everyone is very helpful.
I mean, that can give us a call, specific situation.
Yeah.
Anybody, we can offer them advice. Anybody want to talk to us, definitely.
Yeah. And look, what we're saying is don't be worried to ask for help, because right now I think everyone is very much united at the moment. It almost feels like there's global unity in a sense. So don't be afraid to ask questions. There are a lot of people that will help you, whether it be professionals or whether it will be laymen. Everyone's really out to help each other. And, it might be basic advice, or it might just be, a loaf of bread, but don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah. And Tanya, really appreciate taking this initiative, for this discussion. Really appreciate.
Thank you. See ya.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.